Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to be tapering the tangs on these 3 knives. I do this a couple ways and I'm going to show you both ways in this video. Let's get to it. So I know you can't see this, but I've got the tang marked in the center all the way around. I've also got a mark here. These are going to have bolsters on them. And this is the length of my bolsters, and they'll be 45, going for that dovetail look. They'll be dovetailed bolsters. I know it's not a dovetail, but it looks like a dove's tail. But this is where the 45 will end, if you can see that. I don't want to go past that point. I like, on steel bolsters, I like to leave that portion of the tang flat, and I taper from where they end all the way back. I also don't like to taper too much more than the distal taper of the knife. I mean, you can get them down to a razor if you want. I know folks do that, but that's just not, I don't like the look. When you look at the knife from the top, it's radical here and not so much up here. So that's just a personal preference. It's not a rule, but that's just the way I like to do them. Now, if I'm just putting a single handle on here, it's much easier to do this. But with bolsters, it changes the game a little bit. Because if you got any gap in that bolster, you're not going to get it out. It's steel. You can't clamp it and press it and that kind of stuff. That's why I stop where the flat of that bolster is going to end. Now I'm going to start out on my grinder over here with a wheel, and I'm going to hollow a bunch of this out of here where it makes it much easier to grind. And I'm going to do that on flat platen. But first, let's get this hollowed out. So I've got a good bit of this cut out, and you know, the purpose this serves is it goes much faster when I go to cutting this taper down. It's real fast here to just hollow it out and then get over here and start tapering it. Now, this is a used belt, but I put a fresh belt on there and knock it out super fast. But I just like to use up the belts. And now I'm gonna come over to the flat platen and start tapering it. Now, what's left, a lot of this will go away. This hollow will go away, but what's left will be, you know, weight reduction and place for epoxy to go. But I've got a good bit of it, more of it cut out here on the back side. So I'm gonna get set up here and start tapering. All right, so I'm over here. I got another 50 grit belt on here. And remember, I got an imaginary line or a line there that I don't want to go past. I'm just going to slowly blend it from that line down. And like I said, I'm going to show you 2 ways to do this. This is one way, and I'll show you another way in just a few minutes. So I know some of you's gonna ask, why do I taper the Tang? Well, it's for a couple reasons. It lightens up the handle quite a bit. I mean, you'd be surprised how much weight, and it'll help balance the knife. I'm gonna have steel bolsters here, and that adds, a little bit of weight to it, but it really helps balance it out, and it shows a little craftsmanship. And this is a little, more difficult, Hence the reason why I'm showing this technique. Now, you can do all of this on the flat platen, just like I showed you, and finish it out. But I like to move over here to my disc sander to finish it out. And the reason is the platen, you'll have a tendency to roll these edges. And, when you're fitting handles on and bolsters here, you want everything to meet up nice and square. You don't want any gaps around these edges. And this disc sander will get you good, square, and flat. And also, this is another way to taper your Tang. You can go over there, hollow it out, then come over here to your disc sander, put a fresh, some fresh 50 grit paper or something like that on there, even 120 will work, and taper your Tang. And, I've worked up and blended right up to my lines. I don't know if you can see that. And which, my point of no return. So I'm going to stop there, but I'm going to get on that disc sander and I'm going to go up there and I'm going to move right up to that line the same way I was doing on the flat platen. And I'm going to get it good and flat and square, no high spots, anything like that. This disc sander will do it. And you can totally do the whole tapering operation right here. You just have to pick your poison. I like to move over to that to do what I'm talking about, squared up. So right now I've got a piece of wore out 120 on there. I'm gonna see how it works. If not, I'll change it out, put a fresh piece on there. All right, you could see how that flat disc sander found those low spots and rolled spots right there on the edges. And that's from that platen. Now, you could, when you cutting them on a platen, just don't put so much pressure, because when you push in, that belt's going to do this around that steel, just because of the nature of what the belt's made from, even though you got a hard platen. So I really believe in going chasing behind that with the disc sander. Now, you don't have to have that. And just another tool in your tool chest. I hear a lot of people say things all the time like, what do I need a mill for? What do I need a lathe for? I mean, what do you need a 2x72 for? I mean, you could make a knife with a file, but those tools make your life way more efficient, a lot more accurate, and just does better work. So anyway, back to the taper tang. So right on this end, I'm down around 5/64 or 80 thousandths, a little bit under. And up here, we're 1/8, and I've blended in up to my line where that bolster is going to stop, where the 45, it'll be right there underneath the 45. So from there, it tapers down. I don't know how well you can see that. But comes out pretty good. You know, I've got that line in there so that I can see my thickness on both sides and the end. You know, you don't want one side thicker than the other. And you can take this all the way down to a razor's edge. I know people that do it and they take a lot of pride in it, and like it's a badge or something, you know, but you don't have to do that. And I told you why I don't like to do it. I like the symmetry of the taper kind of matching my distal taper on the knife. When I look at it, it kind of looks like a diamond and gives it that balance. So I hope you got something out of this. I know it's a quick video, but I had a few people asking me about it. And if you got any questions, just leave them down in the comment section. I want to thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I appreciate that. And comment either way. I really appreciate it. Let me know how you taper tangs. I want to thank my patrons, and we're going to see you on the next one.